The first tip, the tool within a tool, is a basic handsaw that you probably have right now. If you look carefully, there's a 90-degree measurement right there and a 45-degree measurement right there. Say you need to mark a line, you simply place the handsaw at the 90-degree angle and you'll have a perpendicular, perfectly straight line. Look at that. Now, what if you need to do a 45-degree line? With the handsaw flipped over, you're going to mark it up to the 45-degree measurement. You have your perfect straight edge. And there's your mark. It's as simple as that. This is called a combination square. It has lots of uses. It is adjustable. It even has a tool within a tool built in here. Look at that. There's a level. What is this? Look at the secret. What is that? Go ahead and unscrew that. It's a scribe. Say you need to mark a piece of wood and you can't find a pen or pencil. You simply put your combination square where you need to do the mark, take your scribe tool. Look at that. You have a perfect mark right there every time. This is called a pistol clamp. It's been around for a long time. It has lots of uses. Everyone I've seen has some kind of removable part. Now they're all a little bit different. Sometimes you'll have a screw to remove back here. This one, you literally push the red button. When you remove it, the piece comes out and you can reverse the direction. So bring it to the other side of the tool, facing opposing, snap that back in, and now you actually have a spreader. Okay, say you have a project that you're setting up with some glue and you need it to dry. You have a spreader tool here instead of a clamp. Cinch that up tight, let that set up, and you will be good to go. This is a carpenter square, very common tool. If you look carefully, the two different sides are different sizes. The wider one is 1.5 inches. The reason for that, 1.5 inches, is an important measurement. 2x4s are always 1.5 inches thick. Look at that. Your carpenter square is exactly the width of a 2x4. That will save you time, such as marking 2x4s at a time, such as constructing a wall, and you're measuring your top and bottom plate. Now, when you remove that and you assemble your wall, that's the perfect width of your 2x4, and you have it marked in the perfect location every time. These utility blade knives with the snappable blades are becoming all the rage. They're very, very common. People love them because when the edge gets worn down, you simply can snap off the blade and have a brand new sharp edge. But did you know there's a secret in the back? When you remove this piece, there's a slot right there. With that slot, you can put the old stripped out piece of blade and you'll just give it a snap and there you go. You have a new blade ready to go, sharp as ever. Okay, so you need to lay down some caulk. You can't find your utility knife to open that tip. Inside your caulk gun applicator, there's a secret. Look at that hole right there. What you're going to do is put your tube of caulk in there, and when you close down on the handle, it snips the end right off. Step 2, before the caulk will come out, there's an inner seal in there that you need to break. If you take your nice screwdrivers and you shove it down there, it's going to come out all gunky and sticky and ruin your tools. So they've thought of that as well. On the bottom of every caulk gun is this tool. This rod will swivel right out, extend it into the tube of caulk, and break that seal. And you're ready to start applying your caulk. Everyday paint stirrers, they've been around for 100 years. Everybody knows you can mix up your paint, but is that all they're good for? Look closely. What are these notches? The reason those are curved is so you can put it against your paint roller and draw down and pull all that paint back into the can. Now, when you're doing this, isn't that satisfying? You're saving all of that paint, putting it back into the can. These multi-use screwdrivers are super common. People love them. Not only do you have multiple tips and multiple sizes, you pull it out and reverse it. You went from slotted to Phillips, and they have both a small and a large size. But a lot of people don't realize the secret hidden tool inside. Remove the tip. Look right there. That's a nut driver. It fits perfectly onto a machine screw. I find this is super useful with machine screws, furnace screws, any kind of metal screws. This is a chalk line. You've probably seen them before. They're used to make straight lines and mark your locations. Every single chalk line that I've seen at the bottom comes to a straight point. There's a reason for that. If you hang them up and let them dangle, it's acting as a plumb bob. A plumb bob is an ancient tool that points directly down, and it will mark the exact vertical position up and down or plumb. This will give you accurate measurement locations when hanging a door, window, siding, erecting walls, anytime you need to know what the exact up and down plumb position is. Wire strippers, they have more built-in tools than you may realize. Here's the popular top 3 that I use often. Wire cutters, you need to cut a wire. Wire strippers, remove the insulation. Pliers, take 2 wires and twist them together. This is a common problem with screws that get stripped out in the hole. With interior doors, often the screw holes will get stripped out, the door will start to sag, it gets worse and worse over time. Remove the screw. Now in that hole that's stripped out, you gotta fill it somehow. What if I told you it's literally as simple as a paper clip, or how about a bread twisty tie? Anything with a thin wire can be installed in the stripped out hole. When you screw it back together, it will hold forever. So here I'm going to take the paper clip, insert it in the hole. It bites nice and tight, and then just take wire cutters and snip that right off. Okay, so you need to remove a screw or tighten a screw and it's stripped out. Can you see that? So check this trick out. Take a rubber band, place that over the hole, then place your screwdriver, push that in deep and start turning. It filled those gaps and the screw is removing perfectly. Often you have to mark the exact dead center of a board to know where to cut it. So when you measure across, look at this, 9 and whatever that is, how you're going to divide that by 2. You simply take your tape measure and you diagonally go up until the next whole number. In this case, we'll stop at 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And when you mark at 5, you're exactly halfway in between that board, dead center. It works every time. Okay, so you have your straight edge marked and you're ready to cut. Now, if you just freehand this, your cut's going to be a little bit wiggly and it's not going to have the precision you want. You want a square. Simply lay that over your piece of wood, have it lock right in so it's at the perfect 90-degree angle. Have that line up perfectly with your circular saw, and you're going to use that as your straight edge. Now, what if with your circular saw, you're cutting soft material such as siding? If you use the wood blade that has a very aggressive pattern, it's made to chop wood quickly. If you use that, you're going to end up with a horrible jagged edge. So what you're going to do in that case, unplug the saw, pull out the tool removal tool. You're simply going to use that tool in your circular saw to remove the securing bolt, take the blade, and simply reverse the direction of that. Okay, by reversing the direction, we've done something important. We've changed the direction of those teeth, so now it won't bite so aggressively into our soft material. Also, this tip works great for laminate countertops so it doesn't chip it up so bad. Sometimes you're driving a screw and the material gets very hard. Here's a knot and the screw just won't turn anymore. If you look carefully, most screwdrivers have this hexagon portion here. What you can do with that is take pliers, channel locks, or in this case a wrench, slide it over so it's nice and tight, use that as extra leverage, and then your screwdriver will continue to turn. You have that extra handle there for leverage. Another great tip on screws is sometimes when you're trying to screw into a very hard material, a knot hole, wood grain that's super tight, if it's smoking or overheating, go ahead and give it some help, like with WD-40. You can spray that on. That may help lubricate the threads. But a trusted trick that has worked forever is typical household soap. Doesn't matter what kind. Simply start applying it onto the grooves of the screw. That's going to lubricate it, make it a little slippery, and that will help to insert the screw every time. Okay, so you want to remove a bolt and it's not going. It's too rusted, been on there for too long. Buy some penetrating oil. Give it a good rinse. Let it work in there. Let it sit for a good long time. Come back, and 9 times out of 10, that will now remove quickly and efficiently. Say you need a quick reference guide to check the width and thickness of your bolts and your screws or your drill bits. It really can be used for so many different things. This handy guide, I love it. I keep it in my toolbox all the time. It's called a drill gauge. Say I needed to know the size of this so I can buy nuts, washers, drill bits, whatever. So you simply start going along until you find the correct size one. So this is telling me it's 1/4 of an inch or 6.35 millimeters. Have you ever had to drill a hole through tile or any kind of slippery surface? What happens is the bit drifts all the way around and you don't get an accurate measurement. What if I told you there was a better way? Go ahead and pre-apply tape. It can be duct tape, it can be painter's tape, it can be anything with substance. You want to get enough layers there. Measure out accurately where your pinpoint location is. You can also use thin pieces of cardboard like cereal boxes, anything that's going to have a non-slick, substantial surface there. This time, when you start to drill into the material, it will not slide around. Hey, I hope you're enjoying these tools, tips, and tricks. Have you ever tried to remove a screw that's been there for years or decades and no matter what you do, it's just too tight and will not turn? Try this trick. Take a trusty hammer, put your screwdriver in, and you're going to give it a little bit of a whack. That movement might be enough to break the screw free so it'll turn again and you can take it out. Okay, say you have a project and you want to make sure it's perfectly perpendicular, 90-degree angle. Say you're assembling a deck or attaching anything to the house. What you do is you use the 3-4-5 method. You measure 3 measurements in one direction. So here we'll do inches. In the second direction, you're going to go 4. And then when you connect the 2 dots, you want to get a measurement of 5. If it measures 5, it is perpendicular 90 degrees. The real secret to this is it works in any increments. 3 centimeters, 3 inches, 3 feet, 3 yards. So that can really expand and you can check really large areas. When you're working with electrical, often you need to cut the electrical screws. Say you're installing a light fixture or a switch plate cover or something like that. Sometimes these screws are too long. The most common size is 6/32 to 8/32. Look at your wire strippers. There's small little circles here. I've worked with handymen before that don't even know what these circles are for. They are cutters for your electrical screws. Simply find the right size, screw it in to the exact desired length, and you're simply going to snap that in half. And your electrical screw is cut right in half to the desired length. Now, if you look at deck screws or any kind of long wood screws, that part near the head has no threads on it. That's so it can continue to bite deep and bind 2 materials together. It works great. The problem is, if you installed it by mistake or need to reposition it, sometimes it's hard to remove it because it just won't have enough material to get it out. So what you want to do is take needle nose pliers, see if you can get it underneath, and you're going to start to use it as leverage to help that screw pry out. Hopefully by now you have one of these multi-purpose screwdrivers in your toolkit. They work great because they have interchangeable parts and bits and they have 2 different sizes. Did you know it's not a 4-in-1 device, it's actually a 6-in-1. If you take the bit out completely, there's actually nut drivers in there. There's 2 different sizes. The 2 different sizes are 1/4 of an inch and 5/16 of an inch. It'll save you a lot of time and aggravation. Okay, so you have to install a screw, but you can't find your bit anywhere. In a pinch, this will work. Take that multi-purpose screwdriver, which I hope you already own, pull the whole assembly out, find out the bit that you want, and you're going to actually use that bit for your new driver. Okay, now with that bit secured, you're actually going to use that for your screwdriver. Do remember, it's only a temporary fix, so after you're done, return it to the multi-use screwdriver so you don't lose the bit. Your trusty level, do you know it needs a checkup from time to time just to make sure that it is indeed level and the bubble is working and not got damaged if you've dropped it too often? Place it on any unlevel surface. This could be possibly your workbench, a back patio, or your sidewalk, or in this case, your driveway. Take some kind of shims, place it on the low side. Okay, with the bubble level right in the middle, you know you're perfectly level. It doesn't matter how much you had to shim as long as you can get the level perfectly level. Now, step 2, take your level and just flip it right over. Place it in the exact same spot, the opposite direction. Now check your level. If the bubble is still right in the middle, your level is true and can be trusted. Okay, so you're screwing in an eyelet. These are very handy, can be used for a lot of applications. At some point, it'll just get stuck and you won't be able to turn it any further. What if you simply take an everyday screwdriver, insert it through the opening, and that's going to give you the leverage you need to continue to turn that in nice and tight. There you go. Say you have a driven nail. Now this one's for demonstration purposes only, but say it was in a finished floor or you had a nice surface that you're trying to protect, but you need to pull that out and reposition it. If you use a traditional method with a hammer, it's for sure going to mark and damage the surface. Check this tip out. Take any flat edge that you have. It could be a putty knife, it could be a drywall knife. Place that under your nail for protection. It'll protect the hammer and the finished surface, and pry that nail right out. The trusty tape measure. It's the most popular item in your toolbox today. It's been around for 100 years. There's a lot of tips and tricks about it that you should know. Okay, some tape measures, when you release them, they fall back in. Yes, you can deploy a locking mechanism, but if you're having only one hand available because you're holding another piece of wood to measure, it's inconvenient. I like these more modern types that they lock all by themselves. Look at that. You don't have to deploy any special lever or button. You can operate them one-handed. Also, while I'm on the subject, when you're selecting a tape measure, you want to make sure that piece of steel is solid and rigid and will hold up. It will last longer, saving you money. But another cool tip is you can measure long distances without an assistant with you. Check this out. 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot. I still have no assistant. I'm measuring all by myself. 6 foot, and the tape measure is still measuring. 6.5 feet, 7 feet. Okay, I gave out at 7 feet, but that's pretty good, and that's a lot better than some tape measures I've seen. Another tip with your tape measure is if you extend it too far, it may cause permanent damage to the inside mechanism, and it may never recoil or operate again. So what you want to look for, and most of them have it, is you keep pulling this out. We're going to go to the max distance, and I want to show you 23 feet, 24 feet. Look at that. As soon as we say 24 feet, it says caution, 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 caution. So you want to watch out for that. We're getting near the end of the tape measure. You don't want to cause damage. You don't want to keep extending it. All good tape measures will have some sort of caution or color change at the end. Here's another one. Once we get to the end of the tape measure, it's immediately displaying caution. You want to stop pulling at that point. I hope you're liking this video. Please stick around to the end so I can share with you my favorite tip. The next bit of good design and tape measure that you should know about is the serrated edge. What that's for is if you're measuring and you don't have anything to mark it with, you can actually use that edge as a scribe. Right there. It's made the mark. You don't need a pencil or pen. Every tape measure out there, if you look carefully on the end, there's a slot. What is that slot for? It's the perfect opening to fit a nail head or a screw head. It doesn't matter which. Say you need to measure something and you don't have a helper with you, you can literally just lock on that tape measure and just pull it away. The next thing you want to know on tape measures, these end pieces with the hook, they slide back and forth. No, you didn't break your tape measure. They're designed to work that way. Look carefully. Between the 1 and the 2-inch mark, that's 1 inch exactly. But between the 1-inch mark and the end of the tape, that's less than an inch. It's actually short by a 1/16 of an inch. A 1/16 of an inch is the thickness of the hook. What that allows you to do is have accurate measurements, whether you're taking an outside measurement or an inside measurement. Let me show you. So on an outside measurement, you want to hook it securely and pull the tape measure taut. They'll pull that end piece away a 1/16 of an inch and give you the perfect measurement every time. However, on an inside measurement, it's the exact opposite. Then you want to push it into your measurement, engaging that hook, and it closes that 16-inch gap, so you'll get the perfect measurement every time. One of my favorite hidden secrets with tape measures, and they all have this, when you turn them over and look at the back, the width of the tape measure is clearly marked. Look at that. It says, in American, 3 inches and 5/8. That is the exact width of the tape measure. And then look at this one, 3 inches exactly. So what that allows you to do is take accurate inside measurements without an assistant. Let me show you. So you want to take an inside measurement. Look at this. And when you hold it up, it's bending to such an extent, you're not going to get a good measurement there and you're not sure. But all you need to do is push the tape measure tight to the end, and we have 25 inches. And then you add that mark that the tape measure says, which is 3 inches. So this inside opening is exactly 28 inches wide. That inside corner measurement tip will get you out of a lot of sticky situations. It will help you out a lot. Do you know all 6 uses of your electrical wire strippers? They do much more than cut wires and strip wires. If you know all 6, I am very impressed, and make fun of me in the comments down below. Stick around for the secret one at the end that nobody seems to know about. The first one is the wire gauge and wire strippers. Everybody knows that they will strip wires effectively. You have all the most common residential sizes, the very thin braided wires from light fixtures to the thicker wires for AC units. This one here is a number 12 gauge wire. Now when you strip back the wire insulation, you want to do about 3/4 of an inch or so. You can just eyeball it and you'll get really good at it. Number 2, making terminal loops or J-hooks. You see these circles right here that seem to have no function? They're for twisting the wire. Simply insert your wire just to where you can see the other end pop through, and then go ahead and give it a little bit of a twist until it's parallel with the beginning wire. You've created the perfect terminal loop for your outlets and light switches. Look at that, it fits perfectly. Number 3, at the end here, that looks like pliers to me. You use pliers for all sorts of electrical work. Sometimes you have to snap off part of your fixtures. Over here, there's also a snap where you can remove the connection between the upper and the lower outlet. There's all sorts of uses where you will need pliers in your electrical work. You can use those to do the service hooks as well. Wire cutters. Look at that right there. There's a wire cutter. This tool does it all. You can snip wires. Sometimes before you put electrical cap on, your wires are greatly different lengths and you need to snip a wire so they're the same length, and then you're ready for your electrical cap. Number 5, crimpers. Right here, when you're installing electrical connections, sometimes you need to crimp them on tight. And you stuck around for the secret number 6 tip. What the heck are these little holes over here? This one goes all the way from 6/32 of a screw up to 10/24 of a screw. They are screw cutters. If somebody says they don't know what those are, they're screw cutters. Now your most common electrical screws that you're going to work with are 6/32 and 8/32 screws. That's for outlets, light fixtures, switches, that kind of thing. Sometimes when you're screwing them on, you will have circumstances where you need to cut the screws shorter. Now, if you use cutters and just force cut it, what will happen is it will damage the grooves. Let me show you. What happens is it crunches the grooves and it will not screw in correctly. So you need a threaded screw cutter. So you take your trusted Channel Locks wire strippers 6-in-1, find the correct size and screw it right in. And you can use a screwdriver for that. Now you see it come through on the back end. So you can just go as deep as you want. It's up to you depending on how long of a screw you need to make it work correctly. And simply squeeze. It's cut the screw, it's protected the screw threads. Now when you take it out, you can use it for your light fixtures, outlets, and switches. A little bonus tip, even though these have 6 or more uses and I love them all and you want to keep it in your toolbox for sure, a name brand Klein's lineman pliers. These ones are a little bit heavier duty and you buy them once and they will last for the rest of your life, I'm telling you. I put links in the video description down below for both of these if you want to pick them up. This is great, will last you many, many years, will do so many different things. You definitely want to have it in your toolbox for sure, but Klein's lineman's pliers are pretty amazing too. So changing out your wood saw blade is kind of a pain in the butt and time consuming. Be very easy if you could just use it interchangeably for wood and an occasional aluminum cutting project. This one is carbide tipped with 40 teeth. I'm confident it will go right through metal, or at least thin aluminum. Okay, so this is a carbide tip blade, so even though it's technically woodworking, we believe it'll work just fine with soft aluminum. Just go very slowly. If there's any excessive burrs or anything, you want to use a file to clean that part up, but this looks good.